Cookie here. It's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
Okay, so we got the air on. Okay, we're ready to roll.
So what do you want to know? What do you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, welcome you to our podcast studio,
Yes,
Jon
officially.
Driscoll, friend of the show for a very long time.
For a very long time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
Years and
seriously.
years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be we'd get to talk to you on the phone, and then got to meet in person, and then your world changed and
Drastically, yes.
drastically. So let's talk about you first. So when we first met you years ago, where do you want to start? Where do you want to? Because I want to tell your story because it's just fascinating.
Well, do you want the ghost story first?
That's how I think that's how we initially met you. Was through we were talking about ghost stories, paranormal stuff, and you called up with one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard.
It's well, I don't know if it's an amazing story or not, but it's a ghost story.
I think it's amazing.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
too.
It is kind of morphed.
You know what?
Over the years,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's changed.
Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to talk about it at the
Let's
end?
do the ghost story first, because then you'll get it kind of
Everybody gets
relaxes
to
me
go
a
down.
little bit, and then you'll get nasty phone calls later.
No, we won't. Stop.
But well, this started with we'll just go back to a radio show that was years ago. I think it was called the JT and Pat show.
Something like that, yeah.
Where Pat was
Something like
the girl.
that. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's about right. That's about right. Nothing's
Nailed it.
changed.
And we were getting again, I probably ought to put a disclaimer on this. Is it some of this stuff is true, some of the stuff is made up, but
Much like our podcast. So you fit right in, John.
You're fine.
But we were talking about ghost stories, and you guys were talking about ghost stories, and somebody called in, and had just the spookiest event happen. That they're out in Elkhorn, actually. That they're about 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. Their daughter comes down, 7 years old, and tells Mom, Kenny needs to use the phone, and the mom was curious. Who's Kenny and why does he need to use his phone? And anyway, she kept going, well, Kenny needs to use his phone to call his mom, tell him that she's okay, or tell him that he's okay. So they looked all over the house, and there's no Kenny, there's no nothing, and they got tucked the child in bed, and again, the JT and Pat were Pat's
The
girl.
girl. Calls me up and says, John, you lived out there. Is there any truth to the story? And I asked, where is that at? And on 160th and Blondo.
Right.
And I said, yeah, there's some truth to that. And back in 1984, there was a young man that on Halloween night was driving down Blondo, and the roads were very slippery, and that was one of those climate change days where we had snow on the ground in October.
Who knew?
In 1984.
1984. And seriously, that road was lucky to be paved.
It was
At
lucky
that
to be
point,
paved. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If
At
you
that point.
if you got off to the side, the mud would just pull you right
No
into-
shoulder.
right, no shoulder at all. So he was driving down eastbound or westbound on Blondo, 160th and Blondo, and bad weather, was pulled into the ditch, hit a tree, and died. So anyway, the where that story comes in is again, that was 1984. That was a long time ago, 35 years ago, and there was a family out there that lived in just up the road, about 192nd and Blondo. Single mom, 3 boys, and mom would work 2 jobs just to put food on the table. Mm-hmm. The boys would go out, and the best way to let mom know, mom would be so tired when she would come home. The best way to let mom know that the boys were okay would be to call and let the phone ring twice. I'm okay. So the phone would ring twice. So that's where the story comes in, where, and the boy's name was Kenny, actually, that was in that car accident, and that died on October 31st, 1984, on 160th and Blondo. So that's where the story kind of turns a little bit, where you have a young child saying, Mom, Kenny needs to use his phone. Call home, let mom know he's okay. Well, for years, the family still lived in that area for years, and every night about 10:30 p.m. on Halloween night, the phone would ring twice. So the radio show, JT and Power, Pat's the girl, asks, how do you know all this stuff? How do you know that this story is real? That happened. It's true.
Exactly.
And I can tell you that because Kenny was my brother.
Yeah.
And every night for 12 years at 10:20 p.m. on Halloween night, the phone would ring twice.
That's amazing. 12 years.
12 years.
Why do you think it stopped after 12 years?
Because my mom died.
Oh, my God.
Oh, really? Huh.
Now, every time I tell that story, the phone rings twice.
What?
That's approval from my brother that says I'm okay.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
Pretty good story, huh?
That's a very good story. That's
my
awesome.
There you go.
Pretty good
There you go.
story.
There you
That's
go.
the ghost story.
There
That's
you
my
go.
ghost story for the day. But
goodness.
now I'll get a phone call from
I know.
People get offended over
That's okay.
the stupidest stuff.
my brother would have just laughed at that.
Yeah.
Just go, this is awesome. That's an awesome story. So,
How old was he?
he was 14 when the accident happened. There's some, with every story, there's truths. And actually, he didn't die in the accident. He lived for 12 more years. And we ended up taking care of him. I stayed home, take care of him for 12 years, and gave up college, gave up a lot of stuff to take care of my brother for 12 years. So he died in 1996.
Wow.
So, but the irony is that he died on October 28th.
Yeah.
1996. So,
Oh my gosh.
I have fun with that. I have
Yeah.
fun. And anybody that knows me and knows my family and knows me and my brother knows that I took him everywhere.
Right.
We did the river raft regatta a couple times. We went through haunted houses in Omaha with him on my back or in a two-wheel cart. You know,
Right.
just
Yeah.
doing stuff.
Right.
We did everything. Took him skiing, put skis on his wheelchair. We took him, swimming, everything. We just did everything together. It's part of a quality of life.
Honestly, are you surprised by how the story has morphed into several different variations? And I don't think that's bad.
No, not at all.
At all, because it is just people's imagination and
Yeah.
their fascination, because there is some truth in that story, and the rest of it's superfluous. That doesn't really matter. But the core of it is true.
Well, we have a good time with it.
Yeah.
We really do. I've told it in a couple of groups, and the phone ringing always gets everybody.
Right.
I
So
think that's awesome.
where did Kick It Up a Notch come in? Remember were you telling the story on the air?
Yeah.
And somebody had it was in that area, and they had said that they would jog and run in that area. They
was
would
either
hear somebody
jogging,
whisper,
running, or
and they'd say
biking.
"kick it up a notch" or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's when you called up and said, and
Yeah.
There's a calmness. There's a calmness in that area from up between 168th and 156th and
Yeah.
or 57th.
And right now,
and
that's
Londo.
my world is upside
Yeah.
down right now because
Yeah.
it's all torn up.
It's all
And that's my route to take my puppy to doggy daycare.
Oh no! It's
Right?
right up the street.
Right. And so I have to go out and around up through Blair and come in through Fremont or whatever to get from one side of town to the other side. So that area is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
What a facelift it's getting, but there is a calmness in
There is
that area
calmness.
though.
It's just right down. As you're going down westbound or eastbound, and I used to run that in high school, cross country track. I would run into Omaha and then run back, and my brother would ride his bike beside me, and as we're heading back home to 192nd and Blondo, he would say, "Kick it up a notch,"
Yeah.
and
Wow.
that's where that
Because people have heard that
People have heard-
they've been on that, whether they were biking, running, whatever they were, and they'd heard
It's a long hill up. I mean, it's a long way up. When you cross that, when you cross that creek, and you look up and you're on a bike or you're running, it's a long
east or
way.
west.
East or west.
East, definitely. You know, it's like, my God, is that the highest point in the county?
Chimney Rock.
Right.
So I think when somebody had called up and told that story, that's what got you to call, because then you told the story about your brother, and that
That's
he had
back
said
when it was
the
JT and Pat, where Pat was a girl.
Yeah, that's right. Way back then.
But we've maintained, though, contact through the years.
Yes.
And part of the reason that I'm really excited for you to come in this, because then people will remember this also, because we've talked about you on the air and your relationship with Ukraine.
Yes.
And helping children.
Yes.
How did that start? Tell the beginnings of that, or what took you down that?
Well, my wife is from Ukraine. Mm-hmm. We were married there. We were friends there.
How did you meet?
I worked for the Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant, and we did an exchange. And my friends in Ukraine are no different than my friends here in Omaha. They all said, we've got a girl for you. She's a great personality.
Anywhere in the world, things are the same, aren't they?
She's got a great personality. Yeah. And I met. Well, I actually met her grandmother first.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody's looking to meet a girl, meet their grandparents first.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
And I mean, it filters both ways.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not really for my family.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I was, and we were married in Ukraine. We were married. We had a state wedding. We had a church wedding, and my brother was my best man. My eldest brother was my best man. We that in itself, getting to the wedding was a chore. You've heard of the movie, what, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I have getting to.
Did you have a John Candy in your world?
Yeah,
those are pillows.
Yeah, that was my brother.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, really, my brother was fantastic. He really kept me sane. And when we had to meet in Chicago, he's from Michigan. We met in Chicago, and it was snow. I mean, this is in March. This is snow. So we had our schedule set up. From Michigan, we had one stop, and everything was based on making our flights. Sure. You miss that first flight, everything's downhill from there.
Yeah, you're done.
Between that and I'm just the other thought in my head was it Home Alone when she was trying to get back home as well?
Yeah,
that was another one of those.
Yeah.
Missed one flight, and she decided, and she struggled all the way through. And as it turned out, the family caught a flight, and they got home before she did.
They got home before she did. Well, not too far from the truth for us. It was from Kiev to the village where we were getting married. There was no flight. It's a 18-hour drive. And the roads back then were not like, there was no interstate, and it was like back roads. So and we had four adults, my luggage, in a Fiat.
Wow. Just four adults in a Fiat.
Four adults.
The luggage.
Well, not only that, we had to carry enough fuel to drive for 18 hours.
Oh, not a lot of Casey's or come and goes in the area.
Zero. Absolutely zero.
Wow.
But we missed the first flight. And I'm in a panic, and my brother goes up, and he goes up to the gals, and they feel bad for us, and I go, well, sorry. So I'm calling to Ukraine just to tell my family, we have a problem. Mm-hmm. Well, it got interpreted wrong, and it was interpreted that I'm not coming. So here they're all panicking.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we have all this stuff scheduled, and you can't change the schedule in Ukraine. You just really can't. So we get to. I go up to the gals at the desk in Chicago, and I said, "Listen, girls, I'm getting married on Thursday." Boom. The lines were separated. 4 women came from nowhere. And they're on these terminals trying to reschedule flights and get us on different different planes.
That's cool.
And they just one gal took everybody else in the line to help them reschedule, and I had these other 4 gals were going give us about 30 minutes, and we're going to get you rescheduled. We're going to get you there. So we're on a different flight, we're on a different plane. At every stop, they made an announcement, that we have somebody that needs to get on the plane or get off the plane. So if you could all stay seated for a moment so these people can get off the plane and make an next. All through it, we had like 4 stops that we had to make, in the U.S. and in Germany and
oh my God,
Belgium and Spain. I mean, we were all over the world basically trying to get to Kiev.
Yeah.
So we get to Kiev and none of our luggage,
of course,
made it. My tuxedo, my clothes, anything. None of that stuff made it. So we had to stay overnight, and they said, well, your luggage is gonna, your luggage will be here tomorrow. And I'm going, oh great, this is not working out well. The time's ticking along. So, and if you would ever, if at that time it was 96, that only 5 years out of the breakup of the Soviet Union, so things were still very Soviet style.
Wow.
So this guy comes out, and we're in Kiev. We're trying to find our luggage, and he's asking for a description, and in my broken Russian, I'm trying to give him a description. He's just like, sorry.
I have no idea what you said, but we don't.
We
don't have any cats here, so I don't know what you're asking for. But
so here, it's just lost. You're not going to get it. It's done. It's history. Well, there was a shadow in the back, and this large woman comes out wearing a military outfit, and I'm scared. I go. She comes up and she's says something to the gentleman in Russian, and she looks at me and she looks at the paperwork and she goes, Driscoll. She goes, you're getting married. And I said, yes, I am, ma'am. And I said, here's my problem. And she says, no problem. We'll put you in a hotel. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't do a Russian accent. My wife doesn't like it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's fair. That's good.
We'll put you in a hotel overnight. Your luggage will be here in the morning.
Okay.
And I was grateful. I just couldn't believe that. So they put us in a hotel, and our luggage arrived the next day. And now I'm going, all right, we've got to get on a train so we can make it to our village. What do we do now? Nobody's to help us. And about just as we were getting ready to go to the train station, in walks my wife's uncle with his driver. Hello,
over
John.
Here. Come on over here.
We're here to take you.
Oh my God!
Wow.
They had driven all night.
Oh my God!
That's incredible.
To Kiev to get there to take us, to the city.
Yeah.
To get married, and it was like.
And you guys could have gotten on the train and missed them, and they could have driven all that way, and then thought you weren't there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
So close.
It's just, and it was just amazing. But it wasn't quite the bachelor party that I had imagined I would have.
I don't know, ordered around by a Russian military lady. That sounds kind of bachelor party.
Yeah,
they do offer. They have that package in Vegas. I don't know.
They have it in around Nebraska.
Well, that was actually, it's. Yeah, there's an appeal to that.
Sure.
Military women in military.
Hey, girls like a guy in
like,
uniform too. I'm just saying.
But anyway, we got my bachelor party. Basically, was 4 guys. Actually, I take that back. 5 guys in a Fiat, 4-door Fiat, with luggage, lots of luggage, and enough fuel to make it from Kiev to 18 hours away, on back roads.
Wow.
But that story is unlike any other bachelor party story anybody could ever have. Like, I remember my bachelor party, but I don't remember, not hardly any of it. I remember playing cards. That's boring. You had a very exciting bachelor week, whatever.
Well, I don't know if you can call it exciting, but The only
Very
thing
exciting.
similar to that and some American bachelor parties I've gone to is that there were 5 guys standing alongside the road relieving themselves.
Right. That's about right.
That's about right.
That happens.
That's okay.
In a foreign country.
In a foreign
There you
country,
go.
yeah.
That's okay.
So-
That's amazing.
So, maybe that's the basis for the movie Hangover. I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
We want to thank Kugler Vision for being a sponsor and a supporter of us through our podcast. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. KuglerVision.com. Just a ton of information, super easy to navigate. It is definitely the epitome of user friendly. If you're looking for information about having any procedures on your eyes, if you have glasses or contacts, and you are considering the possibilities of not having contacts or glasses. I know I wish I would have done it way sooner than I did. One of the things that they pointed out talking to Stephanie at Kugler Vision that you don't really think about when you have glasses or contacts is every year you go get your eyes tested. Your eyes are constantly changing to begin with. And if you have a deficit, it's going to make a difference and they need to tweak it because you don't want to be looking through lenses that are not correct.
That hurts.
So you end up changing your prescription, which, well, I might as well get new frames because, now they're stylish, right?
Right.
So, whatever. And same with your contacts. So you're basically renting your vision.
Which is such it's a crazy, you think that's crazy, but think about it, it's true.
It is.
You really are. You're renting your good vision.
And instead of renting it, you do it one time and it's yours. Seriously, the amount of money saved if you, just going in and getting the complete battery of tests done to make sure that everything's still on track and what my possibilities are moving forward.
And you go in and you set your consultation. You set that appointment on the website. Let them know that you heard about it on the Pat and JT podcast, and then 2020 could be in your future.
Right, and it could happen the same day.
That's right. Very cool.
KuglerVision.com. That's amazing. See, that's your connection to Ukraine.
That's my connection to Ukraine.
You have a project that you do, and you've been. How long has this project been going on?
Well, we started doing this 10 years ago. We started helping out orphanages in Ukraine back in 2008. Not a lot of stuff, just little stuff. We'd get calls and say, we need help, funding this or funding that. And then in 2015, we hosted a young girl from Ukraine for the summer. And, just as Americans do, we loaded her up. When we sent her back, we loaded her up with a full new wardrobe. And we were so proud of ourselves for doing that.
I remember this. Yeah.
We find out that she has to share it.
When she got back,
Yeah,
she
I
had to
remember
share
that.
She had to
everything.
share it.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, that's what?
On one, you can see the logic in it, but on the other side, it's like, well, I wish I would have known that in advance because
Exactly.
we would have done this differently,
Yeah.
so that we wouldn't be so surprised and she wouldn't get gobsmacked on the other end where taking all my stuff away.
Well, we sent her back with 2, thinking,
Right.
an American thinking, we're going to send you with 2. Again, she has, since
share.
she's a state,
Board of the state,
Yeah,
so
board
she's
of the
got to
state.
share it with everybody.
Wow.
she has to share it with everybody. So that didn't make any sense at all. So I got on the phone and I talked to the orphanage and said, listen, let's just fix this.
Right.
How many kids do you have? And that was 176 kids. And I called all my friends and I said, guess what you're buying?
We're buying coats.
We're buying coats.
Right.
So we shipped 176. When I got all the sizes.
Yeah.
Sizes and genders. And we shipped 176 coats to an orphanage in Sumy, Ukraine. Well, that's what I thought would be the end of it. A couple weeks later, I get an email from another orphanage, not very far from Sumy. It said, "We have 120 kids. Can you help us?" And again, I have a kindness heart. I can't say
You're
no.
not going to say no.
So I called my friends again and I said, "Well, we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
There's another orphanage that we're going to help out." And we sent them 123 winter coats. We got all the sizes, and that just kind of started it. It just snowballed.
And let me ask you real quick. With Ukraine, I know it's in the news right now. We're not going to talk politics about it, but just because people geographically, they're figuring out where Ukraine is. And it used to be called the Ukraine.
It's not the Ukraine.
It's Ukraine.
Just Ukraine.
Just like it's
Yeah, they get
France,
kinda
it's
ticked
Spain,
off.
it's not the France, it's not the Spain, it's Ukraine. So How big of a country is it?
It's the size of Texas.
Okay, and how many people probably
Size of Texas.
There you go.
About 30 million.
are, as far as the, see, and I didn't realize it was that big, are the orphanages, when you talk about orphanages, are there more than there should be as far as, the population?
Population, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's a
There's
lot of kids that need help.
there's a lot of kids. They have over 100,000 orphans in Ukraine, which is the highest
Wow, that
count
is a lot.
per capita for
30 million people population, 100,000
And
orphans.
that's the highest in the
Jeez.
world?
It's a
probably?
high. Well, I don't know if it's the highest in the world, but it's 1, 2, 3.
Gives it
It's
a
up
run.
there. Yeah, it's up
Why
there.
is that?
That comes back to politics.
Okay.
The average income in Ukraine is about $300 a month. Gas prices are the same.
Right.
Price of clothes are the same.
So a
as
lot of
here.
people are in poverty.
Yeah, a lot of
just
people live in
ridiculous poverty. And so they can't afford the children,
Right.
right? And that's
And
wow.
everything's amplified.
Yeah.
And plus, if you look at where Ukraine is located on the map, you can see that Ukraine itself, the reason why they call it the Ukraine is because well, the Beatles didn't help, but
I never thought of that before. That's true.
well, and they didn't say the Ukraine. They were
Ukraine.
referring to the girls of Ukraine.
Yes.
and the Ukraine girls. So anyway, it's kind of weird. I correct people a lot. Because
okay,
especially
though.
when we started talking, I said, well, welcome to the Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
people
know,
go,
then they kind of growl at me. And it's like, what do you mean by that?
talking
Well,
about?
let's talk about it. But anyway, it's a very poverty. I mean, based on, it's been like that for hundreds of years. But Ukraine means border country.
it's like prime real estate,
It is prime real estate.
Right?
It's the best dirt in the world.
right?
I mean,
Politically,
yeah.
strategically, it's prime real estate.
Yeah.
And so these poor people have just been besieged. I mean, it's been
hundreds of years. Hundreds of years.
Yeah.
They've been treated this poorly for hundreds of years, and things aren't changing.
right.
And you see societies like that, and you see people in our country that are complaining about the stuff that we have and the problems that we have, and you just realize that somebody living on $300 a month or not living on $300
not.
a month, yeah, it just puts everything in perspective.
Well, they do it. They do it. They manage to do it, and it's quite amazing to see. But you can see the Western influences moving in, and good or bad. I don't know how to put it.
Right.
But when it starts looking bad, and we can talk political or politics, but I'd rather not. It's just too divisive because
Yeah.
most people don't understand the full politics of the situation. People in the U.S. only see one thing, and that's usually what the media has. And then I get information directly from Ukraine.
You've actually been there.
I've actually been there, and
Yeah.
well, and I
Not in a
I-
political sense, but I mean, you've actually been there. You see the people, and as far as helping the orphanages, that's a real issue. I
It's a big
remember
deal.
you were trying to just gather. It was like you had the product, but you needed help with shipping.
yeah.
I mean, it was like that. We just need some help with shipping. We need some boxes. We need to pay the postage.
Well, I don't know what I can say here, but
yeah.
I can tell you there's one home improvement store that has been just fantastic.
You can absolutely say whatever you want.
And okay.
Yeah, nobody listens to this,
We
John.
okay, it wasn't that great. Well, all right.
Let's talk politics.
Let's talk politics. Now, Lowe's has been absolutely fantastic, and
That's awesome.
and I'll be specific. The Lowe's on 144th and Maple.
Yes.
Their employees are just amazing people there. Not to discount all Lowe's stores, because we've got boxes going or being shipped from all across the country.
Wow.
And my requirement is that we use a Lowe's box. It has nothing to do with Lowe's. It has everything to do with the box. The Lowe's heavy duty box is 24 by 18 by 18. It's the biggest box that we can ship to Ukraine that is manageable in Ukraine. And that's the key part, is that we are, it costs us about $50 to ship a box that size. Box weighs about 50 pounds. And part of that cost is $25 goes to the courier.
I was going to say
deliver
the
the box.
distribution on
Yeah.
their end, because that's no easy task.
It's no easy task.
Yeah.
But it's $25 per box
Wow.
in Ukraine. So again, the American that I am says, well, we're going to send the biggest box that we can send.
Right.
Sure, makes
You know,
sense.
why
Instead
send
of a bunch of little
box?
boxes.
Right. No, it makes
25
total
bucks.
sense. Yeah.
So the Lowe's box was actually perfect, and it opens horizontally versus other places where the box opens vertically. And it's a double wall.
Oh, okay.
And it's a standard. So when we have people in say Utah or in California or in Virginia that say, how do we do this? I said, is there a Lowe's nearby? You go and get the heavy duty box, the large heavy duty box, and 24 by 24, 18. It's kind of a standard. An added benefit to that is that we ship to the same place, East America in New Jersey. They recognize the Lowe's boxes as
Wow.
going to orphanages in Ukraine. So
Wow.
so they will.
How many boxes have you sent, do you think?
We've sent over 660 boxes.
Wow.
Yeah, I can give you the total count if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible, because you've been doing this, like you said, it's been 10 years. There's obviously still a need, because the conditions haven't changed in the country.
No.
And so financing, where do the orphanages get their funding?
They're state funded. It's just the priority is a roof and food.
Right.
And most of the orphanages are overcrowded, and the staff are some of those orphanage staff are just amazing people.
Right.
You know, they have heart for children, and they'll usually give up their salary
Yeah.
to make sure the kids have enough to eat, which is amazing.
Wow.
And so we'll take care of the directors as well too. We had one that just she did not have a nice coat. So, and if you can imagine, I called my friends. I said, we're going to get this gal, a nice coat. So we all went shopping. If you can imagine 4 guys shopping for a women's coat.
Something fishy's going
God
on
bless.
there.
That's really.
God bless you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
gosh darn it. I
And we did.
got to give you credit.
Those the same 4 guys in the Fiat.
No.
You're always traveling packs of 4.
Yeah, well, that's there's safety in numbers.
Yeah, there is, especially when you're looking for women's clothing.
Is it? Well, yeah, exactly. It's that accountability.
That's
is
right.
that-
That's what it
is
is.
it? Well, those same 4 guys, believe it or not, we get calls every now and then for kids that were trafficked. And that's the other part of Ukraine is that they lead the world in 2 things, and hopefully I won't get in trouble for saying this. Child pornography and sex trafficking,
That's incredible.
and the orphanages are the targets, and it's no different than any other country.
It's just hyper focused.
It's hyper-focused,
right?
and-
I mean, it's not a huge country,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of coastal
Yeah.
areas. It's almost all coastal,
Yeah.
and reaching any point in the country is probably pretty easy for the
It's really
types of
fast. You can get
pirates
to
that
it.
are out there doing
Yep.
their thing. But it's incredible when you think of the child pornography. Digitally,
Yeah.
that they're that advanced technologically, and then you're dealing on the other side. I'm sure most people have a picture in their head. I know I do. Stereotypical picture of everything's in gray,
Yeah.
and cold looking, and small children in tattered clothes, kind of thing. That's
Just like
your-
people outside of Nebraska have cornfields and gravel
Right,
roads.
you have the
Unless you've been
stereotypical-
there, you don't really understand
Exactly.
the beauty of it.
And they're still like that today.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town, so
Yeah. Yes.
well,
And
it
so-
used to be a small town. It's not a small town anymore.
Not anymore. But yeah, you have that picture in your head, and you're just like, oh my God, that's crazy. How can they can be so far on this side with technology, and then they're so far on this side with poverty?
Yeah, that's
It's
very true.
Just unbelievable.
It raises a lot of questions. you
It
know.
does.
But we get every now and then I'll get a phone call that says, we've got we have a girl that was rescued out of trafficking, and we've got her in a safe house. She needs clothes. Again, I get on the phone. to my friends.
Yeah.
4 guys. I said, we're going shopping for
There you go.
for this 13-year-old, and every single time we have managed to pick out just the right clothes, and enough clothes.
Yeah.
This is not bad for guys.
You're doing good.
The best one was, I sent out the SOS to some of my friends, and we were working with a public school. This one girl came up and said that, what size shoe do you need? And I said, I gave her the size, and she came back and said, can you use these? It was a brand new pair of Chuck Taylors. Well, I had absolutely no idea what Chuck Taylors were.
That's
I
all
mean,
right.
when I grew up, they were just Converse All-Stars.
Just shoes, yeah.
Shoes.
I didn't know they were Chuck Taylors. So she came. She brought us this box of brand new pink Chuck Taylors. And the only reason that my Chuck Taylors got pink was because we were washed with the red sweatshirt. But
Everything got washed together.
but they actually
Yeah.
make
The red
them like that.
sweatshirt because
So-
you're in Nebraska.
Right. Yeah.
Everything at a tin.
Well, we're from it's the Nebraska.
The Nebraska.
The Nebraska.
Anyway, she gives me this box of pink Chuck Taylors. So we sent the shoes, and I was just hoping that they would fit. I thought they might be a little too big, and so I get a phone call from Ukraine that everything was perfect, everything fit perfectly. She sleeps with the Chuck Taylors,
Oh my God.
and she wouldn't take them off, and they finally had to.
We got to wash your feet,
Yeah,
honey.
you gotta change socks,
Yeah,
hon.
change your socks.
So that was kind of amazing. She had never had anything,
Yeah.
and it was just a simple pair of Chuck Taylor shoes that
Over the
just
moon.
made her a world.
Yeah.
And I relayed that back to the girl, and she was yelled at by her mom for giving away her Chuck Taylors.
Oh.
And then when I told her what had happened, and she went back to her mom, and her mom said, "Do we need to send more Chuck Taylors
Yeah,
to
that's
Ukraine?"
cool.
Right? That's nice.
And they're very popular. I mean, they're popular all over the world.
Well,
but
sure. But still, that one
That's
thing.
pretty awesome.
All right, so let me ask you. If somebody, and before we get away from this, I want to talk about, you brought us money too.
I did.
What do they call, what's the money called in
That's
Ukraine?
that's a hryvnia. That is it's kind of hard for Americans to say that. But
Hryvnia?
just
Hryvnia?
hryvnia. Yeah, it's a H sound. It's a hryvnia.
Is this
And,
like $1?
that's a single hryvnia. That's like worth 3 cents.
Wow. Yeah.
But I give those out when I do.
Yeah.
When I talk to groups, I have a bunch of these, and I give people out or give them out to people to
Yeah.
help them remember Ukraine. And
reminder.
Anybody that it's a reminder.
Reminder.
Very nice, very attractive.
How would somebody get a hold of your organization, or if they wanted to donate, or they wanted to read up more? Or
Well, we
Educate
have
themselves.
a website, and you can go to One Child Inc.
One,
Okay.
the number one, or O-N-E?
ONECHILDINC.org, and make sure you put
There's
that
a link
.org in
in
there.
our in the show notes here of the podcast. too.
onechildinc.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can go to the Facebook page and just you can do a Facebook page search on One Child Inc. or search for Kids in Ukraine, and they'll both come up. That's kind of our home link. But we've sent over 11,000 winter coats to Ukraine.
That's incredible,
And,
John. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Well, just I have to thank a whole bunch of people here, and so anyway, here's my
You go right ahead.
my Emmy speech. When we started the nonprofit in 2017, I really had absolutely no idea what I was doing.
I'm going to point out too, you didn't have the nonprofit when you started doing
No,
this.
we had it.
So
We just-
he's been doing this for 10 years. He
Yeah.
just got the nonprofit started a couple years ago.
That's
Correct. It was, and actually, it was a former, as we talked earlier, it was a former congressman that came up and said you should start a nonprofit.
Right.
So we started the nonprofit, and it's just been gangbusters since.
Good.
I got to thank the Omaha Community Foundation. We did the Omaha Gives.
Good for you.
And I was a little worried about it at first, just because we're not benefiting anybody in Omaha. Everything's in Ukraine. but Omaha sure turned out
That's awesome.
for us.
Yeah.
This summer.
Wow.
Just since Omaha Gives, I mean, I had people calling me and saying, we have coats.
Yeah.
We had retailers that would call and say, I've got stuff that was returned or that was damaged. Can you take it? This is in Omaha. And we got over, we shipped over 800 coats from Omaha that was acquired from Omaha from the Omaha Gives until September or until August.
So not even talking, okay, were these not cash donations?
No, these weren't cash donations.
These were just coats.
These were just coats. People saw us on Omaha Gives, and it was I got so many thank yous from people. Thank you for doing this, and we have stuff that we would like to give to that.
Yeah,
and that's part of Omaha Gives as well too. Is it's not so much as the receiving.
It's the giving.
It's the giving part, and we make a joke about it. I mean, all of us who grew up, rurally, pretty much, and it's been kind of a little joke with some of my friends at the cornfields of Nebraska helping the wheat fields of Ukraine, and there's so much truth to that. Yes, I get stuff from all across the country, and I'm so grateful for that. We from every state. There isn't any state that we haven't received anything from.
That's incredible.
And even some in Utah, California, they will ship directly to Ukraine. They'll acquire, and they'll ship. I just tell them where to send it. But this summer really, really kind of shocked me with Omaha Gives. 67 Lowe's boxes we sent. 67 Lowe's boxes.
Big boxes.
Those are the big boxes. Well, I got the breakdown. I mean, I've had so many people that have asked. I've got engineers and architects who are going, well, how much is that? I said, that's 1,100 kilograms of winter coats that we shipped. 2,440 pounds
There you go.
of winter coats.
That's a ton.
Yeah, 1.25 tons.
It's a ton of coats.
Ton of coats.
Here's a ton of
When you
coats.
say just a ton of coats, it was a ton of coats.
A ton of coats. Literally a ton of coats.
And you're right about Omaha. Omaha is very generous, and the one thing that I in my mind I can hear, and I know you've probably, it's like, oh, but what about helping in Omaha? What about the kids in Omaha? Just because somebody's giving to you doesn't mean they're not giving somewhere else, because the community is unbelievably able to envelope and to bring in more. I mean, they're always they're able to. Okay, we got one more. We need to help them. We're going to help one more. It's not that one drops off so that they can help you.
Yeah.
They just find a way.
They just
to help
find a
them
way.
all. Yeah, and every year they give more money. That's the incredible with Omaha
Yes,
Gives.
indeed.
Every year they give more money, and I'm glad that you got on the list. I'm glad that you did that.
Oh, we're so grateful.
Yes.
I hope they let us continue it next year. I can't be more happy than what
That's
and,
awesome.
But the funny thing is that we get people in Ukraine that ask
Where's Nebraska?
where's
Yeah.
where's Nebraska at, and now they all know, and
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. I've got about 15 kids that I Skype with on a regular basis, and I'll get a lot of my friends say, you never get any sleep, do you? Not really. There's an 8-hour time difference between here and Ukraine, so
Scheduling's.
It's
You got to think about it.
So it's 9 a.m. there, and I'll get a Skype at 2:00 in the morning. Poppy, are you up?
Oh my
well,
God.
no,
Wasn't, but
That's incredible.
So they have. Well, I bike a lot. I cycle a lot, and I did a couple of live feeds.
Oh,
and the kids
cool.
wanted to see. Put the video
That's a
on.
great idea.
that is cool.
Well, it's like golf. You get bored after a while. You get bored watching. So the kids they'll log on and they'll all say hi, and on a 25-mile bike race or a 44-mile bike race,
They drop off.
They drop off.
Yeah, that's all right. Whatever.
You had them for a while. That's all that matters.
Well, here's the
Right.
catch with that. It's kids are kids no matter where they're at in the world. So one race, I had a little accident, and I hit some gravel, and
Went down.
crashed, and I had blood on my face, blood on my arm, and I get up, and the kids are going, "What happened, Poppy? What happened? What happened?" And I'm going, "Well, I crashed." And they said, "See the scars, or see the cuts? I had blood on my arm and blood on my face," and they're going, "Poppy, get up, get up!
Oh, they were
You got to get
scared.
riding, get
Yeah.
riding." So now,
Well, they were worried that you got to win. You got
gotta
to get
win.
up.
Yeah, you got to forget it. Take care of that stuff later. Poppy.
yeah.
Get your butt across the finish line. Kids are kids everywhere. They don't care about adults. They just want them to win.
They just
don't
want you to
go.
win. Well,
Right.
now, I mean, now it's every time. And now they ask.
Yeah.
So when are you going to crash?
That's also kids are kids. They love crashes.
All right. Well, before we get things wrapped up here,
Yes.
we got to go back because you mentioned Chris Saab. We had him on our podcast not that long ago.
Great guy.
What's your connection with Chris?
Chris is actually, before he went back to his name,
Yes.
he was Christopher Raven.
Raven.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was great. My wife and I were celebrating one night, and we went to a really nice restaurant, and Chris was performing, and we the restaurant was it. I'm not even going to tell you the name of it, but it was really bad.
Oh, that's too bad.
The waiter was obnoxious, and he was making fun of my height and my wife's height, because we're both over 6 foot.
That's a smart idea.
Right.
And his jokes were just like crashing. It was. I don't mind waiters with a sense of humor, but when you're going to a very nice restaurant, with live music, and just be benign. Here's the menu.
Best
be
move.
kind.
Best move that they don't
Yeah.
even see you. You just
Especially when I'm assuming you're a lot taller than him. Right?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
That's a dumb move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just acknowledging that is really stupid.
Stupid move.
But Chris was playing,
Yes.
performing, and you've met Chris, and for anybody that hasn't met Chris yet, I really strongly recommend
ahead
you
and
go
play.
see Chris,
Yeah.
because his demeanor is so relaxing and so calm.
He is. He's one of those people
And-
that he walks in the room. It's like some people walk in the room, they suck all the energy out of the room. He comes in and he's kind of like Andy Myers also.
Yeah, just take
that.
You just feel good. Just
There's
feel
a-
better.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is that, and he was playing, and had he not been there performing, we would have walked out and left.
Wow.
He really saved the night, and all I can say is if just with Chris performing, was a spectacular night for us. I mean, that's the thing that we remember the most. If the restaurant would have performed,
Right.
well,
It would have been off the
it would have
charts.
been an awesome night.
Yeah.
And then I met Chris at Whole Foods. Oop, can I say that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
You betcha.
And saw him, and just said hello. And I've been following him on Facebook, and he is with you in a conversation.
Yeah.
He's not looking off over your shoulder. He's not thinking about anything else.
He's a very present person.
He is.
Yeah.
He
Yes,
is.
that's
And
very
he's
true.
he's engaged in you. I mean, he's really
cares.
I hate to say that. He's into you. He's into you. He
Yeah.
just listens to you, and he answers appropriately.
For some people, it's probably a little nerve wracking because a lot of people that you meet in day to day don't do that.
No, yeah.
And then to have somebody really
Make you
focus on you,
uncomfortable.
you're like, okay, you're paying way too much attention.
Yeah. Right. Get on your phone or check Facebook. Or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
while we're
Check your
talking.
phone,
That's
yeah.
what we're all used to.
Well, yeah, because make it ring
Serious?
or something.
Yeah. Something.
But he is.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway, and Chris, if you're listening, man, good luck to you. I really believe strongly that the success is your way. And anybody listening, just go see Chris Saab.
Do yourself a favor.
Do yourself a favor.
There you go.
Yeah, do yourself a favor.
John, thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
My pleasure. This is awesome, guys. I just love this.
Thank you.
I think this is.
Thanks.
I think this is fantastic. I think this is a great move.
And all the links and everything for the sites John was talking about in the show notes, and also it'll link you through to his Facebook page and everything.
Yeah.
So follow up on that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. That'd be great. So who's ringing?
It's not me. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's not even part of your joke. Thanks, John.
Oh my
Thanks
God.
for coming
It
in.
is ringing.
Thanks, John. Bye.
That's my wife.
Pat and JT Podcast. A Parkville Media Production.